Hi.
How are you?
Baruch Hashem, I'm okay.
You're looking great. So first, I have to ask you, I heard that when you were first approached to record your memoir as an audiobook, you were reluctant. Can you talk a little bit about what made you reluctant to record it and why you ultimately decided to do it?
Well, you ask, the problem with me is if you ask me a question, I tell you a story.
That's fine, please.
And the story starts off, whenever I spoke about my past, I always remembered my childhood. And I always spoke about the good things that I experienced in Poland before the war. I never spoke about what happened during the Holocaust. So much so that there was an organization in Cape Town. By that time I was living in Cape Town. And they wanted me to join Holocaust Survivor Organization. And I refused. And the reason why was because in 1967 or 68, I'm not quite sure, a very close friend of mine had a brother living in East London. And in East London there was only a very small Jewish community. And they didn't have anybody to speak Holocaust survivors from Yom HaShoah. And I didn't speak about the Shoah, but he knew that I was a Holocaust survivor, and he asked me, would you be prepared to go and speak at the cemetery? Because in South Africa, they always have Yom HaShoah at the cemetery. In East London, because they don't have anybody to speak. And I said, okay. So I flew down to East London, and I prepared, because I wasn't going to only speak about the Holocaust. Living in a country like South Africa at the time, where apartheid was really very, very bad, and people were suffering. So I decided that I was actually going to prepare a speech. Normally, I don't write down speeches. I speak from memory, and I speak, as an impromptu. And I spoke at the cemetery. And when we came back to my friend's house afterwards, I started shaking and shivering. And and there were some doctors, there's always Jewish doctors, there's always doctors around. They're real French doctors. And they gave me some tea, but I think they put something in the tea, so I slept. And the problem was that after that, for many, many years, for the first 10 years, I never suffered from Holocaust survivor. I didn't have bad dreams. I only had one episode where I dreamt that I was being gashed, and that went past, and I was only 14, 15 years old at the time. I tried to live a normal life. And then from that time on, from the time when I spoke at the cemetery, I started having nightmares and waking up. And I had a wife and 2 children at the time. My youngest wasn't born yet. And I had to work. And I had difficulties. I had extreme difficulties everything was coming back. And I decided that the less I speak about it, the more. So I decided I don't want to speak about it at all. And I actually needed a lot of help to carry me through this terrible event from 1968 or 67, as I can't remember, until around about 1975, I suffered enormously. So I decided that I'm not going to speak to. When I came to Toronto, a lady who is here, and her name is Paula Draper,